Hello, 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 everybody. Giving y'all a few seconds to go ahead and log in. I know I have quite a few people who are signed up and said that they wanted to be here. So I want to go ahead and give those folks a second to get started. And as usual, Facebook will go ahead and take a few seconds delay to get everybody populated. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And while I'm doing that, let me turn off all my notifications off all the devices. How do I do that again? This way. I think I'm lighting me a candle. Let's see if there's any wax left in this one. Yes. Okay, giving folks a few more seconds. Hello, hello. I have my first visitor here. It usually takes about 3 to 5 minutes for people to go ahead and join us for Facebook to let folks know that we're getting started. So let me share this out and let folks know that I am ready to get started. So I need an icebreaker while folks are getting on. And if you're watching this on the replay, I need to make a note that I will do a timestamp on when the actual content starts so that y'all won't sit here and be watching and fast forwarding for 30 seconds or 3 minutes or whatever the case is before we go ahead and get started. And let's just go ahead for another 30 seconds. So here's my icebreaker question, folks. Come on. Icebreaker question was, when you were younger, what was the best Christmas or holiday gift that you got? That's my icebreaker. I'm trying to think. A lot of the gifts that I got when I was a kid, I was totally surprised by. I remember getting my first Nintendo when I was, I think I was in 6th grade, like old school Nintendo, blowing the cartridges, the whole thing, and you had to double stack them to make it work, and y'all don't know nothing about that. Also, my other favorite gift that I remember was when I was in the 9th grade or 10th grade, I got my first CD player, which was back in the 90s, a really big deal. I'm trying to think, I can't remember if I had a single disc changer or a 3-disc changer. And then my senior year in high school, I got my first putt-putt car. Y'all know the cash car, and I got my first car. It was a Mazda RX-7. I drove stick. I had to learn in about 2 weeks how to drive stick so I can go to school. And those are my first gifts. So I see some more folks are joining us. And the question while Facebook is going ahead and populating, we just have 30 more seconds before I'm going to go ahead and get started, was, what was your favorite childhood gift? Monchichi, how old were you when you got that? Your favorite Christmas gift? So we're going to go ahead and get started in 10 seconds. And so if you have not gotten the chance to watch Jay-Z's Family Feud, see Oprah's Golden Globe speech, I highly recommend you go watch those. Both of those links I posted on my business page, which is facebook.com/Aaliyah Mims, because that's kind of our pre-work for today. But even if you haven't, you can always go back and catch it at another time. So I'm going to just put a timestamp in telling everybody to go ahead and let's start at the 5:15 mark, so that as folks go ahead and watch the replay, they'll know where they can go ahead and fast forward to. For those of you guys that don't know me, my name is Aaliyah Mims. I know I have a lot of friends, family, and loved ones on this live today, but I expect that many more will be watching on the replay, because this is real life and not everybody can stop at this time. So I'm Aaliyah Mims of AaliyahMims.com, and my purpose in life is to write, to love, to unapologetically be, and to incarnate the divine feminine. And what I do with that work is to empower women like you to be able to stand up in their full truth, being able to heal all of the stories and messages and beliefs that we've had about ourselves, so that we can really reconcile the person who we are and really believe in who we are and how we can stand up in leadership to be able to do that, so that we can change the world. And I do that work through a variety of ways. I do it through speaking, I do it through writing, I do it through workshops. So that's a little bit about me. And as I've been working and thinking about 2018 and thinking about the direction that I really want to go in over these next few months, it's imperative for me to show up unapologetically. So it's imperative for me to really be honest about who I am in all of the facets of my life, not just, who I am socially or who I am to check a box, but what I stand for and what I believe in many of the ways that are not comfortable. And I know that as I do that, that I'm empowering other women to use their voices as well. So if you've watched some of my videos before, we've talked about everything from brown liquor to sex to how do we have a spiritual practice to just what does it mean to lead from your strengths and lead from your talents. And tonight I've been feeling particularly called to talk about Jay-Z's Family Feud video, Oprah's speech, because it was simply everything. And I think it's a really good introduction into my work, and then where I really see us going in 2017, 2018. Y'all, can you guys believe that I'm a little bit nervous tonight? I think it's because I'm coming off of work, and I literally came in the house like 15 minutes ago, and I'm doing all kinds of things to get ready. As usual, I have my little Buddha statue going on here. I have my crystals going on, and I'm only drinking soda tonight. So there is nothing adult in this beverage except for some really unhealthy high fructose corn syrup and sugar and carbonated water. So let me take a deep breath and go ahead and get it started. Hey, Callie, glad to get you here. Callie, you jumped in at just the right time. We were just doing a quick intro about who I am, asking y'all what was your favorite Christmas gift when you were a kid, and we're going to go ahead with the content. So if you haven't, so first of all, just by a quick show of hands, even if you're on the replay, you can go ahead and join in too. Raise your hand, give me a number 1 if you have seen the Jay-Z's Family Feud video. So I see a thumbs up there. And then give me a double tap if you have seen Oprah's Golden Globe speech. I feel like I'm back on the day. Remember, what was that Periscope when you can double tap and get all the hearts at the same time? So if you haven't seen those, so it seems like maybe a couple of people have seen it, but not everybody has seen it. In Jay-Z's Family Feud video, of course, the whole premise of the song was talking about how his relationship with Beyonce and his infidelity has caused this rifts in the family, and how you can't move forward as a family if you have these kind of rifts or these really these deep-seated issues that are tearing the family apart. And so on the surface, it seems like, oh, another song about infidelity. Of course, all the folks are going to say, is this really just for ploy, or this is just for marketing? But the video, y'all, the video was absolutely amazing. And it really explores how the idea of the family is a metaphor for us as civilization, and specifically us as Black people. So in the video, and Callie, I hope you're definitely going to go watch it afterwards. But in the video, you start off seeing Blue Ivy, and she's in a church, and she's coming to the altar in some kind of in some kind of way. And one quick thing that was really interesting to me was that we saw Beyonce in all blue. And by the way, side note, I have not read any think pieces on it. This is purely my interpretation. It could be right, wrong, in between, but these are the thoughts that I was having as I was watching it. You see Beyonce in all blue. She has up this hat, and it reminds me of a painting that I cannot remember, but more importantly, it reminded me of the Pope, and it was the kind of the papal hat where they have the high hat, and there's this veil behind it. And then you see the Jay-Z making confession. And when you watch the video, you realize who he's making confession to is Beyonce. And now on the surface, you might look at this and think, oh, he's confessing to his wife. But really, when you think deeper, especially when you see the rest of the content in the video, you realize that Beyonce is the person on the altar. Beyonce is the one that's receiving the confession. Beyonce is the one that's wearing the Pope hat. And really what that's trying to say is that even though we see the man as the head of the household, it's really the woman that's on the throne. It's really the woman that's at the center of this sacred tradition. It's really the woman that is the deity and the one that is adorned and exalted. So my first thought was like, is that really what they're trying to say about, the place of a woman, or what he's trying to say, or what Ava DuVernay, who is the director of this video, is trying to say? So then the video goes on and on and on, and you realize that it's I just lost the word, a dystopian future where it looks like, the world has declined. There's all these warring factions. And at the same time of these warring factions, and yes, some of the women are the ones that are leading the charges into the army, or charges into battle, you see that there's this circle table, or conference table of the heads of state that are all sitting around this table that are discussing diplomacy, discussing what happens next. And when you look at who's around the table, who is it again? It's nothing but all women, and not just women in general, but it's different archetypes of the type of woman. So you have women of color. Of course, there are white women at the table. There are people that are representing all of the different types of ethnicities. There's trans women. There are just so many different types of women who are the ones that are at the table. And then you realize the one that is at the head of the table is the grown-up version of Blue Ivy. And again, we're back to that metaphor of it's women who are really going to lead us into the charge, into this next era, and not just women in general, but it's really going to take our collective voices and all of our experiences in order to lead us into this next place. And I can't believe that I completely skipped over the beginning quote of how the short film starts off talking about the wretched and what does it mean to be in power and who's going to really inherit the earth. And so you watch this movie, I keep saying movie, but you watch this video, and then you realize that what the story really is saying, that in order for us to restore to our place in humanity, in order to bring us back from the brink of destruction, in order to save humanity, it's really going to take women. Not women in conjunction with men, because let's be real, men have had their turn. And we've seen what has happened when we've switched over from the divine feminine to having this very male-dominated, patriarchal, and misogynist society that has literally led us into destruction. Not just physical and socioeconomic destruction, not just, environmental destruction, but really a destruction of our psyche and who we are as human beings. And so this is all of what is coming up in the Family Feud video. Hi, Chantel, glad that you're joining us. So right now we're just dissecting the Family Feud video. And so I was watching that video, and of course I watched it a few times, and I was just completely in awe with all of these metaphors that this video was bringing up. And not just the metaphors, but the fact that this is a man that's recognizing this, and especially a man who has grown up in this toxic masculine society and in toxic masculine environment specific to Black men that are impoverished in urban areas and have this narrative about what it means to be a man, and it kind of hit the destruction point for him when he betrayed his vows to his wife, and he really was able to kind of be brought to the knees and see how he destroyed his family, but then also having to go to therapy and rebuild and relearn love as a vehicle for him to restore his family. And I believe that part of his restoring and rebuilding of himself and restoring his family is also deferring to the fact that women are really who hold this whole thing together. And also it's going to be women that lead us into the next paradigm where we're not, you know, destroying the planet, destroying each other, destroying civilization. So that was like Family Feud. And I was just like, oh my God, I cannot, like I was totally geeking out. I was with Babe at the time and I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And like insisted on finding this because low key, I'm not a title subscriber anymore. And so I had to find some other ways of watching the video, but I was determined to watch it, y'all. So that I'm just going to set that there, right there. Hey, Empress, glad you're joining us. So that was Family Feud. And now we're going to go to Oprah's Golden Globe speech because in truth, I only watched it one time. And I only watched it one time because it just hit such a chord with me that I just like to really let it sit in my spirit because it was just like all holy water and ceremony and communion and all of those things to me. And I just really needed it to marinate in my soul. So the things that really stood out to me from her speech was, one, that she was willing to call a thing a thing. And what she called to task and what she called men to task, and what she called women to task too, because let's not be unclear that patriarchy and misogyny cannot exist without women being complicit. That's just what it is. Like, I'm dropping my own mic there. Women are complicit to this, which is why it's able to continue. And she basically said to men, y'all had your turn and you effed it up. You fucked it up. It's our term now. That is old and that is dead. And this is a new era. And when y'all have Mama O coming to the mic and saying that literally to your face, like, I dare you, then that's what it is. So Xavier, you said you need to get me a proper mic so I can mic drop. Believe it or not, I have a whole fancy mic in the closet. I'm gonna get you one. But you know, I do accept gifts. I do accept mics so I can do my mic drop. I'm just teasing y'all. So when I saw that, Mama O, who completely, for many of us Black women, exemplifies what it means to move beyond the box that we are put into. When you look at Oprah, she is everything that society says we cannot be as Black women. She grew up poor from a mom who, for whatever reason, could not raise her. And I read the books, and I'm sure there's always a complex story behind there. But her mama left her at the end of the day. Her daddy left her. She was living in Mississippi with a grandmother that did not have the financial means, but of course had all of the other kinds of love. She went back and forth between households. She was raped at a young age. She gave birth to a child at the age of 13. Not only did she give birth to a child at the age of 13, her child died at the age of 13 when she was 13 years old. So then she's now in a household, and I'm sorry, not just rape, but rape by a family member. So we're talking about betrayal. Now she's back in a household with her dad, who, is doing his best to try to put her on the right foot. So you can even imagine by the time she got 18, all the kinds of trauma that she's already endured. Then she goes away to college and she enters pageants, and people tell her she's too dark and she's too ugly and she's not beautiful by Eurocentric standards, but yet somehow she wins. And then she goes into a male and white dominated industry, journalism, and they again tell her all of what she's not. But somehow she's able to parlay this into more opportunities and taking more risks and looking all of those things into the face. We see her become at the top of her game. So we thought when she was hosting the Oprah Winfrey Show, and we said, how dare she go up against, the beloved white man, Phil Donahue, because y'all, I'm old now. I remember when we had to choose between Phil and Oprah, and we weren't sure which one we were going to do. And by all people's standards, she hit the peak. She lost all of the weight. She looked the part, so to speak, but she still kept going. She still kept going and saying, you know what, actually, I don't want to get married, which for Black women, we have a lot of our identity, and actually white women too, we have a lot of our identity into who we're the misses of. And she said no. She said no. She's still going to stay with this man, but she doesn't want to get married because she said, why ruin a good thing? And that was her truth, and she was able to stand in that. And then she walked away, y'all. She walked away at the height of her game because she simply did not want it in that form anymore. And a lot of people think, oh, she just was tired of it. But here's what you guys didn't even realize when you're able to look back. She walked away because she needed to have her own platform to tell her own truth. Let's rewind history a little bit. Do you guys remember the kinds of things that she was talking about when she walked away? She walked away when she started talking about God. She walked away when she was talking about Eckhart Tolle, and she was talking about metaphysics and spirituality and how God is not confined in the box. She walked away so that she can create a platform to tell her truth. And this was a time where we were still living in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it was not politically correct to talk about God unless you were talking about Christmas or talking about, Americanized or I was about to say some other things we ain't going to get into right now. And so, Empress, you're absolutely right. She ascended, but to the masses, it looked like she walked away. And what's important to realize is that when we see her walking away, so to speak, she actually was ascending. And what that tells us is that she continued to defy the odds. Her organization, the OWN network, was not doing well. And she continued to parlay and parlay and parlay it to the force and the media force that it is now, that people are literally begging her to run for president. And she has those kinds of choices to say, no. This is who I am, and this is what I'm going to walk in the truth of. So you have this woman that represents all of what America is against and has said no to and has tried to dehumanize in every single way on a national platform with a white woman literally giving her the mic and a faction of white men who have given her this award to say, time's up. Now, do y'all really think she was saying that to be cute? Do you really think she was saying that because she was trying to get along to go along? She was saying that because she really meant it, and she really was trying to say, literally, time is up and we're now into a new era. We are now into a new paradigm. That's the truth of where we are. And it brings me to my third point. And what do I mean by divine feminine leadership? Because I think there's some misconceptions and there's some truths that you need to understand. When I talk about masculine and feminine, I don't mean gender exclusively. I do not mean sex exclusively. I'm not talking about the genitalia that one is born with. However, I am talking about the energy, and I'm talking about the types of spirits and the types of duality that we have in nature. We're talking about when the stereotypical feminine, when we're talking about nurturing, we're talking about really centered, and we're talking about being a creator. Because one thing that's always been interesting to me is that a lot of people attribute the supreme God in the Judeo-Christian tradition as male. But there's nothing in nature, and correct me if I'm wrong, y'all please come in my comments and correct me if I'm wrong. There is nothing in nature that I am currently aware of where men create. They have the seeds of creation, and they make it possible so that women can create, but men do not create in isolation. However, neither do women at the same time do not create in isolation. However, the seed goes into the host, into the home, the female. So when we talk about creation, we're talking about something that is scientifically female. We're talking about something that is naturally female and feminine. We're talking about the nurture. We're talking about creation. We're talking about taking the old and creating new. This is the spirit of divine female leadership. And divine female leadership also does not mean keep replicating the same thing. We're not photocopies. We're not Xeroxes. We are not meant to excuse me. Random fact about me, I typically sneeze in threes. I know that was four, but I typically sneeze in threes. But as women, we are called to create new things. We're not here to replicate the old. We're not here to keep reproducing what has already existed. We're not here to be the status quo. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Xavier. We're here to usher in new life. And unfortunately, we've been in this place where we've had a complete imbalance of power. And I don't believe that being masculine or being male is wrong. I don't believe that at all. And when I say masculine, there's the things of protector, of being physical force, of being so-called logic, even though I don't necessarily fall into those hard divisions of logic versus emotion and all of those things, because I just don't believe that. But I do say that it's the balance to the woman, not the opposite, but the balance to the feminine energy. And we've had this complete imbalance of energy, and there's a part of the energy, there's pros and cons to each. And part of the cons to the masculine energy is that there is a lot of aggression in the physical sense, because women are definitely aggressive and assertive in all of those ways as well. But in the physical sense and in the violent sense, men, by nature of testosterone, have that tendency to be more physically aggressive. And that's kind of territorial and marking our territory and doing those kinds of things. And all of us have aspects of both feminine and masculine in us, but there's part of us just simply because of hormones that we're going to be balanced one way or the other, and that's how we get men and women. But then also because of our natures and our spirits and who we are as individuals, we might have different balances. But as a whole, we have been in a really masculine environment and masculine leadership that has led to the demise of our societies, and not just for women, but for men too. Men are also hurting and in pain and are having consequences of living in such a toxic masculine environment. And when I say toxic masculine, I do not mean that masculine is inherently toxic, but because of the imbalance, it has created toxicity for men and for women alike. So what that brings us all to is that we are now in an era where everything is screaming and pointing and showing up and holding up the mirror that it is time for the balance. And the only way for the balance to happen is because right now this is where we are. We're up here with masculine energy and masculine leadership being completely imbalanced and being at the top. And in order for there to be balance, that means that feminine energy and divine feminine energy, and that means feminine energy that is coming from a sacred source that is aligned to our divine purposes, that is God ordained, has to accelerate at a faster rate and at a higher way in order for there to, over time, be balance. Let me give y'all another analogy. So I was in a really bad car accident when I was 17 years old. Long story short, I was sideswiped off of the road and my car spun this direction. I learned, and I remembered in driver's ed, that when you are fishtailing, you turn into the curve. And that way, when you turn into it and you overcorrect the other way, it eventually balances out. It counterbalances. And I'm probably saying that all wrong. I just remember how you do it when you drive, how you counterbalance and how you course correct. But you can never you can't swing the pendulum too far to the other end because it could cause an accident. And long story short, when I was in the accident, I was able to counterbalance until I got straight. Then something else happened and the rest ended up really bad. And I'm using that analogy to say that in order for us to get to a place of stability, we do need to overcorrect a little bit right now and have more feminine energy so that we can eventually come to a place of balance. What does this mean for you? I'm going to take a pause before I tell you what this means for you. And first of all, I see you guys are here. I see some of the comments coming through. So I'm wondering what is going through your mind as you're hearing me talk about Jay-Z and Oprah and divine feminine leadership. I'm wondering what's going on in your mind right now as you hear that. What questions do you have? What is this making you think? What is this making you wonder? What is making you fear? What have you heard? Take a moment and just take a second to just drop down a quick thought that you have for me right now before I talk about what I believe this means for you. Kim says she had a sister friend join us. Can I give her a quick summary? I absolutely will. And here's a thinking question that I want y'all to do a quick jot down for me. As you're listening to me talk about Jay-Z and Oprah and divine feminine leadership, what does this make you wonder? What are you taking away so far? What are you thinking? What are you questioning? Hi, Cassandra. Is it Cassandra or Cassandra? I am like really serious about people's names, so I hate getting them wrong. So feel free to jump into the comments. You're so welcome, Kim. I didn't even give you guys any housekeeping about Sister Sanctuary. So Sister Sanctuary is interactive. This is not a webinar. This is not me giving a speech. So please feel free throughout any time to jump in, ask questions, let me know what you're thinking. Usually there's brown liquor in here. Tonight there is not. I just got home from work and it's been a long day. So y'all are getting me still in my work clothes, all of that. Cassandra, is that right? Give me thumbs up or thumbs down. Another thing about Sister Sanctuary is that clearly this is a feminine space, and I have my people on here who I know will honor that space and who also embrace their feminine energy within them and recognize the divinity of it as well too. So we're all welcome as long as you are able to, you know, hold space literally for what the intention and purpose of this group is. And that's why I roll with some dope ass men, y'all, like some dope ass people, my cousins, my brothers, like y'all are rocking out here. And this is why I love y'all. And this is why I've been rocking with y'all for a whole lot of years. So a quick summary, Cassandra, was I was talking about Jay-Z's Family Feud. Definitely go to my page and like it so that you can see the videos that I posted there. And it was talking about how in the video you think it's really talking about the destruction of the family because of infidelity, but really that was a metaphor for the destruction of society because we've had this toxic masculinity. And in the video you see that who's able to bring us back is the woman, and not just a woman, not just white women, not just women in power, not just women with money, but it's going to take a collective voice for all of us to be able to rise together. And when you see this collective of women or this council of women trying to think about how are we going to restore humanity when you have all these warring factions, you see a representation of all kinds of women, from Black women, brown women, indigenous women, white women, trans women, all kinds of women. And that's who it's going to take to restore. And then there's also all of these different symbolism where you see the woman almost as a deity in this video. You see Jay-Z making confession to the priest who ends up being Beyonce. You see Beyonce wearing papal robes and crown, which again I think is a nod to the fact of, you know, and the reality of it is that when we look at society, when we look in nature, when we look in science, creators are women. So when we talk about God, the creator, we're talking about the creator being woman. Also, we talk about how society and how the world needs balance. It's not all female, it's not all male, but we need the balance of both. And so one of my beliefs is, yes, I see God as a feminine object and I talk about goddess, but I also know that God is both and in all. So it's not one or the other, but it's really the duality of all of those forces. And when we see Oprah's Golden Globe speech, and we talk about how she is everything that society said that we couldn't be, and she's all of those things that society said would never achieve, yet here she is, one of the most powerful females and women in this world, and she's telling society literally that it's time for us to rise up and the old era is done. And what does that mean? In order for us to restore humanity, that we all need to rise up in our divine feminine leadership. So this is where it comes to you. What does it mean to be a divine feminine leader? When I'm talking about femininity, I'm not talking about your girliness. I'm not talking about whether you wear makeup or you get your hair done or you have nails or you wear high heels and dresses and all of that. That is not what femininity is. And anybody that's going to tell you that's what it means to be feminine, like, really just needs to check themselves. Nor does it mean to be masculine means that you're born with a certain body part or you have certain chromosomes or you wear a certain thing. Like, those people are so stuck in the past that they just need to really get over themselves and read a book. Like, honestly, I know if you're rocking with me right now, I do not have to tell you what the difference between masculine and feminine is. However, if you do want some resources, I will be happy to point you in that way if you want to go deeper in it, because I am not taking it for granted that we all enter this place at different places. We all enter this sphere and this knowledge from different entry places. And I don't assume that we know it all, but I do know that we have a spirit in us to say, this is not what it means to be masculine and this is not what it means to be feminine. It's not just about dress or the way that we present. It's really about the spirit and the essence of who we are and the way that we interact with the world and how often the world sees us because of the way that we show up. And so so that's what I mean by feminine. When I'm talking about feminine, I'm talking about divine feminine together. And divine feminine for me means that when I take the spirit of all of the women, both my ancestors and the angels and the gods, goddesses and the archetypes and the orishas and the ones that pour into me that possess both that fiercely maternal aspect, that nurturing aspect, that visionary aspect, that creative force aspect, that love aspect, and taking all of those things and packaging it together, and that spirit and pouring into me and allowing me to not pour into me just so that I can, you know, have fun and have pleasure and have desire and joy and happiness in life, but so that I can use that to really pour into other people to develop those same skills and those same traits and that same energy in them. That I'm leading by being all of that. And I'm leading by being all of that so that I can pour that into you so that you can also lead in your strengths and in your gifts and in your talents. Whether your strengths and your gifts and talents are owning a business or being a teacher or being an artist or being a diplomat or being the president or being a construction worker or whatever you are called to be, that you can be all of those things, but for the purpose of bringing more love and more nurturing and more creativity and more joy and more vision and more positivity into this world. So that's to me what it means to be a divine feminine leader. And all of those things are not coming from a place of ego, meaning what I want just because I want it and I want to be right and I want to be in control and I want to be powerful, but really because this is what is instilled in me from my sacred and my spiritual connection. That these things that come to me, y'all don't even understand. Like, there are so many days where I don't want to do this work. There are so many days where I really contemplate, it would be just easier if I could just work a regular 9 to 5 like everybody else, if I can just come home, if I can just do laundry, take care of my family, be in love with my babe, and just, you know, read books and continue with the rest of my life. There are so many times, and some of my sister friends are on here where I'm like, I don't want to do this work. Like, it's pulling teeth because it's giving so much of myself. And it's not with, a lot of times not with financial reward. It's not with accolades and adoration and affirmation. There's no thanks for it. And I'm not saying that those are the things I'm looking for, but a lot of times those are the things that keep us going. And a lot of times I feel like I'm just kind of in the wilderness, but what's guiding me, even when I can't see what the outcome is going to be, is this sense of connection to not only my responsibility to humanity, but my connection to God and my connection to the goddesses and my connection to my ancestors. And they're the ones that are really pushing me to do this work beyond my ego. And so this is the particular way that I'm gifted, but I do know that if you're on this live video, especially if you have been working with me before, especially if you've been following me before, especially if we have been friends and y'all have withstood my attitude, my directness, my bitchiness sometimes I just don't feel like it, and you withstood my introvertism and you've been able to see into the heart of who I am, then you too are called to be a leader in your own right. You're called to be a leader in your own right. And it's clear to me. I want to say it's my vision, but that's the wrong word. I have a gift of intuition and discernment, and I've been embracing that gift. And what is speaking to me right now, like what I see God saying to me right now, what I can hear, it's kind of like interrupting me here, is that all of us are leaders who are on this video, but most of us are afraid to truly walk in that. Partially because of it would fly in the face of what people told us that we're supposed to be. It will rock a lot of boats that we're not quite sure we want to rock, because we'll rock the boats of people that we truly love and care about. It's easy to rock the boat if you don't give a fuck. Like, if you don't like the person, you can be like, fuck it, I'm going to do this all day long. But it's a lot harder to rock the boat when it may risk the comfort level of people that you are comfortable with. I am going to call you out, Xavier. I'm the call out queen, like for real. And it's always with love. I know that if you're on here, you see kind of the next thing, but you also have a whole lot of perfectionism in you. You feel like, if I take this step, what if I don't do it right? What if I mess up? What if I don't have all the right information? What if you have 1,000 what ifs? And part of what you're fighting against those what ifs are, well, since there's all these risks, it will be easy to stay in this box. But you also can admit to yourself that this box is killing you and it's draining you and it's sucking the life out of you. And you argue with God like, God, I just want to do just the regular things. I really want to just do what everybody else is doing. Everybody else seems to be content with just getting their little piece of their title, their Mrs., their Mr., their house, their kids, whatever. How come I can't be content with that? And you try your best to fit into a box. And every single time you fit in the box, you are so dissatisfied because it's not you. And you feel like you're a fraud going through this life that's scripted for you, and a fraud doing what everybody else says to do, but it's scary as hell to jump into the unknown. I know I'm talking to you because I'm talking to myself, because I've been there. I've been there and I've been there. And I'm telling you this now. It is not a secret, and it's not by accident, and you are not crazy that you're thinking all of those things. You are not crazy. You are not selfish. You are not what's the opposite of humble? You're not being ungrateful because you want more in life. And that's the thing though, y'all, especially as Black people, especially as Black women, we're taught that if you want more than the little bit you have now, you just ungrateful. And the reality is it's not true. The reason why you have that discomfort is because you have a calling that you are fighting against. You have a calling that you're fighting against. And what's going to happen, there are one or two things. One, you are going to try to numb that calling. You're going to put yourself and create so many boxes and complications and layers and barriers to try to numb that voice and silence that voice. We'll throw ourselves into overextending ourselves to our families and our loved ones. We might use chemical, drugs, food, exercise, busyness to quiet those voices. And of course, we already know all of the destruction that's going to come as a result of all of those things. So that, and a lot of us right now, I believe, are in that place of trying to numb it and silence it, even when we don't even realize that's what we're doing. We just got on that hamster wheel and we're just going so fast on that treadmill that we don't even realize we're not going nowhere. We just know keep going, keep going, keep going, because it's what we've always done. And as much as we keep going, we don't have to think about that nagging in our spirit. So that's what's happening to most of us. There's some of us, y'all, and I'm saying this because this was me, that are really hard-headed. That even when you know that that's what you're doing, you still keep doing it knowingly. And y'all, let me tell y'all what y'all don't want. Old folks told us and we didn't want to listen, but I'm going to tell y'all, like I'm going to tell y'all, like I'm going to tell y'all. God will take away and destroy everything that is standing in the way of you accessing and ascending when you are particularly called and you don't listen. Let me say that again for you. God will come in and take away and destroy all that is preventing you from ascending as a last-ditch effort to get you to pay attention. I'm going to give you to you in some biblical terms because some of y'all don't believe me. And some of y'all are Christian, and I have no problem with Christianity. I was a Christian for the majority of my life, and I've read and studied the Bible, and I feel pretty confident and I feel pretty spiritually led in what I'm going to say. And I believe that God gives us different religions and walks so that we can see things from our vantage point. No one way is better than the other, but this is the language that we're speaking. So I'm going to speak Christian language. Did you ever notice in the Bible? Again, please correct me if I'm wrong. I am willing to be wrong. But did you notice in the Bible that anytime that Satan came through to destroy, there's something else that happened first? Satan never came through to take away, destroy, do anything without God's permission first. God said, go and test my servant Job. Go and test Adam and Eve. Go and test this. And God sent that, not because I really believe that God is a test, is trying to test you and prove your faith, because God don't need you to prove your faith. God does that to remove the barriers that are standing in your way so that you can see your truth, so that you can see the truth and that what the heart is at the matter. So that's just something for you to study on, meditate on. Let me tell you what it looked like in my life, because y'all just don't know. Y'all know a piece of what you know. Some of y'all know a whole lot more than others. But what y'all don't know was that for most of my life, I was really working on being good enough and acceptable. That's the best word I can think about it. And I really believed, because of the way that I grew up, that if I can just get certain things, then I will have arrived. And at first it was, if I can just get education, if I can just go to the right schools and get the right degrees, then I will have arrived. I will have succeeded. And then it became, if I can just get married and have kids and have that house and have, vacations twice a year and have XYZ credit score, then I will have arrived. I believe that. And I thought that would make me good enough. I thought that once I had those things, then I can be satisfied, because that was the complete picture of success to me. And so that happened, and there were all kinds of complications, and God kept taking those things away from me. And I was pissed, and I was angry, and I was hurt, and I was sad. And so first, my relationship was just did not work from probably before I got married, if truth be told. That's a whole other work. Then I experienced all kinds of miscarriages. And for any women on here that's ever had a pregnancy loss, one pregnancy loss, you know how devastating it is. And I remember when I was writing how lightning was striking twice, and I couldn't believe that I was having 2 miscarriages after I literally did everything that the doctor said. And not just all the things that the doctor said, y'all. I did IVF. And if you don't know what IVF is, quick science lesson: they take this eggs out of your body, they have sperm over here, and they mix it in the petri dish, and they make a baby in a petri dish. And then once the babies have hatched and have gotten to a certain growth, then they put them back in you. And it's 90% effective, because they've already hatched the babies. All you got to do is put it in the womb and let them thrive. Guess what? Not only did my babies not thrive inside of me, so the first time I had twins, the second pregnancy was my first IVF, I had twins, the development arrested, it stopped. But beyond that, all of the babies that were hatched and frozen and ready to transfer back in for the next time that I was ready, all of those embryos did not make it. They didn't make it either. And that almost never happens. It's extremely rare. So that happened to me on the second time I got pregnant. I lost my twins, and I lost all of the embryos that I had, frozen, ready to transfer back into me. Guess what? It happened a third time. It happened a third time. The third time, my pregnancy got a little bit further, and I got the call that you're pregnant, but. And at this point, I didn't even know whether to laugh or cry or be numb. I just kept going. I went back to work that day when I got the call that you're pregnant, but your numbers are not looking good. And we have to keep giving you a pregnancy test until we determine that you finished miscarrying. Third time's the charm, but third time it happened again. And guess what? Those are twins again. And all of my embryos died again. So I went through this 3 complete times. Actually, I tried way more than that, but 3 pregnancies I lost. And then I was divorced, and I lost my house, and all of these things happened. When I say I lost my house, that was devastating, and that was so embarrassing, because, I had the money, I had a mortgage I can afford, but the housing market crashed, and my value on my house dropped 50% in 6 months, literally 50%. 50%. I couldn't even sell. I couldn't even give a house away. The bank didn't want it. People didn't want it. It was that bad. And on top of all of that, you remember all of that. Xavier has been rocking with me tough since the beginning, since before my marriage, like for real. And all of that, and I was still trying, and I just figured out, okay, this door is closing, and this door is closing, and this door is closing, let me detour that way. Long story short, I kept on driving, y'all. Y'all talk about that labyrinth where you can't go under, you go over, you do this, you do that. I did all of that, and I finally arrived again. And God still said, no, you keep trying to fit into this box. And I don't care how you want to change the box, change the color of the box, put up new wallpaper on the box, decorate it a different kind of way, change the chairs around. It is still the Titanic. It is not your ship. It is not your show. And it's still going to sink. And because you don't want to listen, I still got to make it more painful for you in order to, for you to get to where you needed to be. So, like, I can't even describe, and I'm not even all the way to that place yet where I could describe fully of all that happened to me over this past year. But when I tell you that God continued to say, nope, nope. When this is my yanking the cord out the amplifier. All my musicians know, like when the show is over, we just gonna yank that joint out the wall because you're not listening, and clearly you want to keep singing that same song, and we're not gonna let you do that. So we're just gonna disconnect all of this shit, and that's what God did. And it got to the point, though, with this time, I was like, okay, I'm going to listen, y'all. I'm going to listen. I don't have no agenda. I done tried it my way, 100 different ways, every other kind of way. The vegan version, the vegetarian version, the breatharian version. I done tried it all. I'm done. I'm not going to die, but I give up and I surrender. And part of what surrendering also meant was listening. And I learned how to be uncomfortable and be comfortable in the discomfort. I learned how to tap into my truest self. I learned how to figure out once and for all who I am, not in reaction to what I don't want and who I don't want to be, but who am I when nobody else is looking? I was able to say no to a whole lot of people and things that I used to say yes to. I was able to say yes and choose the experiences and the desires and the pleasures and the joys of my heart. I was able to heal, truly heal. And I was able to forgive the one person that I continue to blame for all of my mess. Me. I always felt that I was the one that was in control. So when bad things happened, somehow it needed to be my fault. When I was mistreated, somehow it was probably my fault. When things didn't go my way, it was because I wasn't good enough, smart enough, talented enough, skilled enough. I was able to really look at all of those truths in my face and being able to truly deal with it once and for all. That's the journey that I went on, and that's the journey that I'm inviting you to be a part of. I have 2 things coming out, and you only got to do one thing right now. Get on the list. The first thing that will be coming out, and it's in production, is the guide to being unapologetically you. For that, if you want to get on the list for that and receive a discount and the advanced copy, you simply need to just subscribe to bit.ly/QBO subscribe. I'm putting the link right there. Queen Bee Order subscribe. That will allow you to not only have access to the advanced copy of the guide to being unapologetically you, it will allow you to be on the waiting list for the group that I'm opening up, the Sister Sanctuary and the Queen Bee Order Mastermind that will be coming very, very soon. Those are all things that are in production. All I want to know is, are you committed to standing up in your leadership and in learning the lessons and getting rid of the bullshit and the excuses and the stories and the pain that we have subjected ourselves to in trying to fit in the box? If you are tired of the box, if you are ready to finally move beyond that and be who you are at your true heart, at your true soul, connected to God, and as a woman, and as a divine feminine leader, then I invite you to subscribe. Takes about 2 minutes. That's about it. that's what I have for you today. I am so thankful that you guys have stayed on with me for 54 minutes. I am thankful for you guys for inviting your friends. I'm thankful for you guys for interacting with me and letting me know that this resonates with you. And I look forward to seeing at least 6 of you guys on that list so that you can walk with me in 2018 and make this a year that's going to be different than the other. No more box. No more trying to fit and squeeze and shrink ourselves and recraft the box to make it look pretty and cute, and to settle and to make excuses and to ignore and numb and busy away that numbingness, that calling that is really just trying every single way to get your attention. No more having to challenge God to take away stuff so that you can finally hear and listen. And here's the third thing I forgot to tell you guys about what happens after those first 2 things don't work. First, it will be uncomfortable, and we'll get that nagging that we try to numb away. Second, we will get the destruction is going to come. The destruction has to come to make room for the new. And then when you still don't listen, you know what happens? This is the third phase. Nothing. Silence. You win. You get to be the same person that you were at 30, at 40, at 50, at 60, and at 70. You get to fade into black. You get to fade into the background, and you get to be part of the masses that live and die doing the same thing that the person before them, replicating the same status quo, doing the same old, telling the same stories, having the same experiences, because that calling and that gift will go away. It won't be there for you to access and pick up when you're ready. It's just like when you try to be an Olympic runner at the age of 20, you can train, and there's going to be a very few of us that can pick up and start over from nothing at 70 and start trying to start that journey. It's not going to be there anymore. Our bodies don't work the same way. Our spirits don't work the same way. And we have been through too much for us to be able to access those gifts. So that's the other third consequence. It goes away. And I know that if you're on here, you're not someone that truly wants it to go away. You just don't want it to be uncomfortable, and you don't want it to be painful, and you don't want to lose. But the reality is, by continuing how you are, that's more of what you're going to have happen to you. And I believe in my heart of hearts that you deserve more, that you will experience more joy and more happiness and more fulfillment by being who you are unapologetically, and by being the leader that you are called to be. So I, again, invite you to subscribe to the Queen Bee Order. The link is right there. And before I close out, I would love to hear what's one burning question that is sitting on your heart right now. And I'm going back and looking at some of the comments. Empress said, agreed on being led by spirit. Kim, thank you so much. You said I'm amazing at what I do. I sincerely appreciate this. Kim, we've been going together for a couple of years now, I believe, and it's just been really beautiful to witness your own willingness and to step into the truths that you are being called to do as well. Xavier said, I don't need to call me out like that. Xavier, yes, I do. First of all, you know how we roll. We don't sugarcoat Nathan. And 2, we are kindred spirits. And so I'm calling you out like this because you know what's in love, and you don't hear or respect anybody that's going to sugarcoat it. All of us are very good at walking over whoever we need to. And we know somebody baby voicing us. And, well, we don't respect them. So no, and that ain't never been me. Y'all not rocking with me because you want the cute version. That ain't what it is. Kim over there trying to hide. Kim, you can hide your eyes all you want to behind this monkey face, but you can still hear me. Yes, boo, I'm talking about you. Xavier truly has been rocking with me, y'all, since, was it 2003? Lord, it was a whole other era. I was young. I was skinny. Didn't even know I was skinny. I wore a whole size 0 then, y'all, for real. I was a vegetarian still then. I think I was vegan too. Like I had a whole other life before y'all get this version of me. I think in 2003, I still had locks. Oh, I was young. I was like 25. I was 25. Though we talking about freshman year in college. I ain't seen a college. I got degrees and student loans since 2003. All right, y'all. So if you're watching the replay and you've made it this far, thank you so much for joining me. And I also welcome you to let me know what questions are coming up. What's that burning question or that burning nagging in your spirit right now? Lastly, if this has been helpful, drop your favorite heart, thumbs up, whatever emoji. I almost called it emoticon, y'all. Taking it back to AOL and Yahoo Messenger days because I was doing that too. That is it for me. Love y'all. Thank you, Chantel, for the hearts. Thank you for, I see all kinds of fun little emoticons. Is it emoticons? Lord, emojis. Emojis. That's right, emojis. Thank you, Xavier. Thank you, Chantel. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Tina. Tina, I don't even think I said hi to you when you came in. I'm so sorry I was in such a zone. Thank you, everybody that's been on here. And I look forward to seeing you guys subscribe, drop your questions here, or if you want to inbox me, you can do that as well. Love y'all.